The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Thank you for joining us here in FRC Media. I'm Keith Tebow. As we do for just about every election, we try to do what we can to speak with individuals that will help you make informed choices at the ballot box. One of those things that we're doing is we're speaking to those who are in favor and opposed to the ballot questions on this year's state election. What we're going to focus on today is ballot question number 4, which is the limited legalization and regulation of certain natural psychedelic substances. Now, if passed, those 21 and older will be allowed to grow, possess, and use certain natural psychedelic substances under certain circumstances. Also, those over 21 will be able to grow these substances in a 12 by 12 foot area in their home. There'll also be a special commission set up that will oversee the process as well as, I believe, do some regulation. Today, we're going to speak to an individual who is on the no side of question, looking voters to vote no on the question 4 coming up in November. I'm pleased to be joined by Chris Keohan. He's from the Coalition for Safe Communities. Chris, thank you for joining me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
So let me ask you right off the bat, in terms of your point of view, why should people vote no on question 4?
Well, honestly, our opposition comes from the simple fact that this is just a bridge too far. The way that this ballot question is written would, as you said, legalize the growth inside someone's home in a 12 by 12 room. That's the average size of a bedroom here in Massachusetts. It's an astronomical amount of mushrooms to be grown, and it allows for a gray market to come out into our communities. A few other points. The marijuana ballot question that was passed several years ago, that question had community opt-out. If the community voted against it as part of the ballot question, they were able to prohibit the sale in their communities, or the select board and the other governing agencies of a community could actually overturn the ability to dispense. That doesn't exist in this ballot question. If this were to pass, all 351 cities and towns here in Massachusetts would have to allow these facilities to be brought into their communities, whether they liked it or not. The other thing is, we're not arguing against the medicinal benefits of this, but this isn't medicine. These are for-profit clinics that are not required to have a medical professional on site. And if you talk to the psychiatrists, particularly the Mass Psychiatric Society, has testified against this at the State House for the very specific reason that if you are in severe psychosis and you take a drug like this, you are exponentially higher at risk to have a bad, what's called a trip. You need medical professionals in these facilities. They are calling them licensed, but the fact of the matter is there is no licensure for this. They're arguing that it would be a 160-hour training program. That's 1 month. 1 month of training to be able to distribute these drugs. You need a doctor on site. You need a trained medical professional for any of the issues that could arise from a bad trip. And that's the main reasons we're opposing this.
Yeah. Let me ask you, in terms of some of these issues, I was going to ask you about the medical effects of it. And as you said, your organization is not opposed to the medical benefits of it. It's just how it's going to be operated here in the Commonwealth. There are 2 states, Oregon and Colorado, that have these similar measures in place. Is there anything that you're learning from those communities that may be different from what Massachusetts is proposing? That I guess, is there any evidence on what they've done thus far that will help bolster your view?
Well, what we're seeing right now, particularly in Oregon, a vast majority of the clientele going to these clinics are flying in from another state. The other thing that's happening in Oregon is, again, these are for-profit facilities. They're charging between $750 and $3,500 per visit. That's an astronomical sum. And when I see the yes side with their advertisements, talking about the hope that these types of drugs can provide folks with PTSD, brave men and women that served in the military, to people that are dealing with real severe medical issues. How many people in the state of Massachusetts can afford $750 to $3,500 per visit? They're providing false hope to the very people that need it the most. And if we were going to do this the right way, we would have written it so that it could be overseen by medical professionals in order to ensure that they are receiving the best care. And frankly, if this was about real medical care, there wouldn't be home growth. We all know that the difference between going into a facility and being overseen is vastly different than growing on your own and ingesting on your own.
Yeah. Another item that is listed on your organization's website is sort of a safety issue in terms of DUI with the, in connection with the legalization of marijuana. There have been a lot more DUI offenses, and there's a concern as well for this if this were to pass, correct?
There is, and it's something to really take a look at. Drug driving has increased dramatically across the country in recent years. But even beyond that, it's even just the safety in someone's house. The other side clearly knows that these are not materials that should be anywhere near children and pets, because part of the ballot question talks about this being behind a locked door. Well, anyone that's ever broken into their parents' liquor cabinet as a teenager understands that a door is very easy to get past. If you talk to veterinarians, if you talk to pediatricians, if you talk to home insurers, they're all worried that this would pass, the impacts it would have. The number of animals accidentally ingesting narcotics and other drugs has skyrocketed in recent years. The same thing for children. And we've spoken to home insurers that are saying, this is either going to drastically change the rates here in Massachusetts, or people are going to have to sign specific documentation guaranteeing that they are not growing in their home. Otherwise, their entire insurance plan could be nullified.
Yeah. Another issue that those on the that may be a concern with your coalition is a lot of comparisons are made to the initial uses in the beginning of medical marijuana, and that that was heavily regulated at the beginning, and then obviously the ballot question to make it available recreationally. Is that a fear as well, that this could be in some way a slippery slope to that outcome?
I think you're spot on. And the reason people have that fear is the home growth piece of this. There is no medicinal value to home growth. You are unaware of the amount that you're ingesting. It's trial and error. If this were truly medicinal, it would be at a clinic utilized and having someone that is a medical professional. And the home growth makes it clear that the next step they will push for legalization as well, and potentially even dispensaries.
Are there any concerns about the this advisory commission that would oversee this in terms of maybe any types of politics getting into this, and how that would work in terms of the coalition's view?
I think you don't have to look much further than the Cannabis Control Commission to understand getting a commission up and running smoothly is not exactly what Massachusetts does well. So the CCC is a perfect example here, where it's in complete disarray right now. And if similar things happened with this committee, I think it raises significant questions about the viability here in Massachusetts.
Those on the yes side will probably look at what you're saying right now and say, well, there's no compassion here. We have to, we have family members that are dealing with mental health issues, PTSD, and other mental issues. How do you combat that message when it's personal for a lot of people?
I would say that my father is a Vietnam War veteran who faces his demons on a daily basis. I would say that my mother passed away from cancer after a long battle with breast cancer. I would say that if they walked into a clinic and saw the price of the false hope that they're trying to provide these people, they absolutely never would have been able to afford it. it would have been shocking to them, and they would have never been able to utilize the potential medicinal benefits that could help them. It's shameful for them to be talking about the medicinal benefits of this, knowing that a vast majority of the citizens of Massachusetts could never possibly afford what they're proposing. And to hide behind the pain and suffering of families, to give them that false hope, I frankly find shameful.
Yeah. Let me ask you finally, Chris, in terms of those voters here in Fall River and across the Commonwealth who are trying to find more information about why they should vote no, how should they do that?
Well, you should go to the website safecommunitiesma.com. You can see all our information, the talking points. We're adding endorsers in the coming days. We have a number of medical professionals that have come out and said this is just too much. We are also starting to hear from DAs and first responders who are saying this is just way too much. This shouldn't be passed. So I would say the medical community and first responders, particularly police and DAs, are strongly on our side. And that should give you pause when you're thinking about what to vote yes on this. And I'd strongly urge a no vote.
All right, Chris Keohan from the Coalition for Safe Communities asking voters to vote no on question 4. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right. And thank you for joining us here in FRC Media. Please make a point to vote on Tuesday, November 5th.